Hello, and welcome to Leadership Trail Mix. I am Miguel Oliveira, and for the next few minutes, we'll be together looking at one of the main ingredients that compose this art and science we call people leadership. Our guest today is Asel Ormonova, a life coach for transitioning humanitarians, which I will let her explain more details shortly what it is. I was attracted to her work because one thing I usually see in humanitarians or those involved in social or volunteering work is this strong tie between who they are and the work they do. Well, guess what? This is not exclusive to them. All of us, independently of where we work, can fall on this trap. So that's what we will be talking about today: identity and work. Asel, welcome to Leadership Trail Mix.
Thank you. Hi, Miguel, and hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
I think we should start with introductions. Asel, if you can share with us who you are, your story, and the work you currently do, that would be amazing.
Amazing. So, my work involves working with humanitarians and helping them get their inner independence from the system. And what that usually typically means is them feeling independent and all amazing humans to be navigating life, to be living the life they want to live, irrespective of whether they work for the humanitarian sector or they work for private sector or they transition to whichever they want to transition. So my work involves helping people, I guess, removing their addictions from work and uh, feeling like humans again and transition to whichever life they choose to.
That's so powerful, Asel. And how did you land in this world? How did you end up becoming a coach? I know, but maybe those listening to us don't. You had your own experience working in that space, right?
Yeah. So the way that I came to coaching was, I think, 2015 when I was working for United Nations. I worked for United Nations for 10 years, and in my journey there, I felt burnout several times and very depressive for several years, and then feeling like, okay, there needs to be a better way to live this life, because if I keep feeling victim of my life, victim of my circumstances, my work situation, and struggling to find sense of what I'm doing, then I felt like it wasn't worth continuing my life. So that was the time where I found coaching, which was really helpful to learn how I don't need to be a victim of my own life. I don't need to be victim of my own work or whatever path I choose, and feel that freedom to be pursuing whatever I want to. So that's how I came to coaching. And it's been now 10 years since I've been doing this.
Wow. That's amazing, Asel. Thank you for sharing. And you used the word addiction a few minutes ago, and one thing that I've been discussing with my therapist as a workaholic in treatment, as I describe myself, is that because I love what I do, I want to do it all the time. And it's like a drug, honestly. So I watched a video of you online called Detoxing from My UN Drug. Can you share what the process was like for you, including what worked and, if applicable, what didn't work during this detox process?
Yes. So the the thing that I realized was essentially I was treating my UN employer as a solution to all my life problems.
Mm,
And also I was using UN and status and privileges to feel confident, to feel powerful, to feel like, I have all my life figured out essentially. And then when I was thinking of leaving the UN, I also realized, oh my God, I don't know how to live without my UN employer, because it was, right? It was like answers to all my life's questions. And then once I started realizing if I leave UN, then who am I, right? Am I this powerful, confident professional who can go anywhere and do any job and be expert in what I do, or all my identity and who I am collapses? And then I realized, yes, it was collapsing. And it was also good news that it was
Uh,
collapsing, because then I realized I was outsourcing all my confidence power to the employer, believing that that's the only way I can be those, things, confident and like expert, like professional. And if I remove the UN from my system, then I considered myself as no one, essentially, right? And then it hit me that it was a time to really detox myself from that identity, detox myself from that lifestyle. And the way that it looked for me is essentially first looking at all of the ugly emotions around who I was without the UN.
uh,
And I think my identity without UN was I'm no one. No one cares about me. I'm not good at what I do. I'm not confident. I'm not worthy, essentially, right? All of those ugly things that I needed to look at and then process those emotions. And once I did, then I start looking at, okay, do I really want to be the person who cannot function without UN or without a system or without the job? Or I want to now build an identity of being an independent human being who feels whole, confident, powerful, irrespective of whether I work for UN or for someone else or even for myself, right? And that was a process that took me a while. I think it took me about a year to figure out who I was
uh,
without the system, without my work. And then once I realized I can't be that human who can function in the world wonderfully without it, then I started really like recognizing that I didn't need to be dependent and addicted to that anymore. And I started looking at, okay, how can I now build relationship with my work that is not codependent, but rather build my work in a way that's healthy, that allows me to thrive and grow rather than latch on to because I'm afraid to live without it.
that's beautiful, Asel. Thank you for sharing so openly your story and what worked for you. Um, I think along the same lines, I would love to talk about your new unconditional life, which I think uh, this process opened the doors to. I loved how you articulated how conditional our lives can become, being shaped by limiting beliefs, and how much more life we can have by breaking the cycle. Can you share the concept with us a little bit deeper, this idea of conditional versus unconditional?
Yeah. So as I have gone through this transition myself, the thing that I realized that I think me and many of us get into the pattern of is we get into this condition of if we study well, we will be successful in life.
Uh,
If we tolerate our toxic bosses, we will eventually get promoted, right? If we keep doing this thing, then it will get to something. And then we live our lives all like, I don't know, most of my life, I've lived my life the way I can be worthy if I'm successful,
uh,
right? There's always this conditioning to I can be um I can feel good about myself if I am a powerful or confident human being. I can feel happy if I have found my place in the society. And these conditions have socialized us in a way that we need to be always essentially proving how we're worthy of something. And if we stop proving, then we somehow feel something is wrong with us. Somehow we feel we're not successful, we're not this, we're not that, whatever it is that we believe we should be. And therefore, this chasing after feeling worthy, feeling successful, feeling powerful continues until I realized, okay, what if we didn't need to chase those feelings through work, through status, through money, right? But rather, we assumed we have those feelings already within us as humans. And if we have those feelings already within us as humans, for instance, I can feel worthy, confident, powerful without proving. I can feel whatever I want to feel without having those external things confirming. If I can live my life that way, then how would that look like where there are no conditions anymore, right? So there are no conditions that maybe our parents gave us back in the day, like if you study
Ah,
well, then you are going to be this, or if you do this thing, then we will love you more, or whatever the conditions that our parents gave us. Later society gave us the conditions of if you uh, keep obeying to the company's directives, then you will be, I don't know, going in the ladder.
mm,
But if you don't do that, then you don't, right? All of these conditions, I think, have made us believe that the only way to feel happy, fulfilled, joyful, powerful is by proving, by going through those conditions. And I have challenged that by saying, okay, what if I live my life now where there are no conditions? So I'm worthy whether I don't do a shit or I do something, right? I'm worthy if I work for UN or I don't work for UN. I am powerful whether I have achieved something or I don't achieve something. And then once I start feeling those, then I believe this freedom starts like happening within you that says, oh, you never needed to prove to begin with, but you just like got along into the society's pressures and into the society's prescriptions. And then we just kept chasing for whatever that feeling after having achieved. And then we keep achieving and achieving. And then at some point we feel like, okay, we should be arriving by now, and then never arriving.
yeah.
Right? So that's when I said, okay, I don't want to be arriving anywhere anymore. I want to be feeling all those feelings because of who I am and how I exist in this world, and everything else is optional.
Yeah. That's beautiful. This inherited worthiness, right? Or
Yes.
enoughness. I love that concept. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
That's beautiful. Um, and I feel like for a lot of us, getting out of the cycle is hard because of fear. Um, and I would love to talk about fear a little bit. On a post from you for about 2 months ago, you said, and here I quote, the reason we allow fear to be so dominant is because we believe when fear is in charge, we cannot be in charge. This is not true, at least not when it comes to emotional fears like fear of failure or loss. The way to take control of fear is by building trust in ourselves, trusting who we are as humans, and confidence in what we are capable of achieving despite fear. I would love to hear a little bit more about that. I feel like you already gave us a glimpse into that world in your prior answer, but I would love to take us a step further to think how can leaders help their people understand and deal with fear and the ability of coexisting or co-leading with fear.
Mm. Yes, I love this topic of fear for many reasons because I feel like if we crack the code of fear, then we are unstoppable essentially as humans, and we no longer need to cave into our survival instincts as much. And the reason why I believe we cannot go into like cracking the code of fear is because we are afraid of the fear itself.
Mm,
And that's a bit ironic. Like, I think we're all conditioned to believe that fear is something that we need to just obey. We cannot question it. We cannot do anything with it. Therefore, as soon as fear appears, we need to stop doing whatever we want to be or we need to avoid. But that is true only to the physical fear, I believe, right? When the, I don't know, tiger is chasing us or when the car is about to hit, obviously we need to be listening to fear and not discuss it. But when it comes to emotional fear, which I think most of our lives are now, is we're no longer chased by animals in the wild. So therefore, the emotional fear, I believe we can do so much with it to a point where we can actually understand how we continue leading and being in charge of our lives and pursuing what we want, no matter how much of that fear is over us, right? And as leaders, I believe the first step that we can do is how much of the fear we are allowing within our own lives to dictate, right? And how much of it that we are actually leading despite our fears. So if I give you an example, I used to be in a very leading role of a large team of about 80 people. And one of the things that I realized in my role is that I was so afraid of someone going against my decision. So I made a decision. I told people this is how we're going to go. And then I was so afraid that if someone comes over and questions that decision, then I would just fall apart, right?
Ah,
Now, obviously, in that moment, the message that I'm sending to my team is I'm saying my decision can't be questioned because I'm not confident enough in my ability to be discussing my decision,
ah,
right? Because if you question it, then I will take it all personal and then I get all defensive. And then next time you will not be asking me or questioning my decision, and therefore borderlining dictatorship, essentially. Now, I'm not saying that leaders do that, or, I think we have amazing leaders who also recognize that any decision can be questioned. There will be a lot of challenges that we need to be prepared to be explaining and discussing it, of course, right? But I can also see that even if, in my experience of that example, even if I wasn't saying to everyone that you cannot question my decision, what I was signaling to people was that by my defensiveness, right, I was signaling to people that it's not safe to be discussing this with me. Therefore, what am I signaling? I'm signaling that because I don't feel safe with
ah,
myself, you questioning me, therefore, I'm not creating space for you to be, expressing your fears and your concerns and your doubts about what we're doing. And therefore, by that behavior, I am giving in to fear rather than me having that safety in my body's confidence, trust in my body to be saying, yes, I made this decision, but I welcome all the ways to question it so we can see if my decision stands, and not make it about me as a person, but rather make it about the goal and the impact that we want to pursue, right?
ah,
And therefore, as leaders, I think we need to be careful as to how much of the fear that we have that we are giving into within our own lives. And then that, of course, reflects in our work, right? Because then if we're not able to handle fear ourselves, then we cannot really handle other people's fears. We cannot create safe spaces for other people to speak up and say the things, say the ugly things, so that we can discuss and work through. So
ah,
therefore, I believe as leaders, one of the best things we can do is look at how are we handling our own fears, whether it's fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of doing the wrong thing, fear of not being able to carry until the end, right? How are we handling those? And then if we're not handling them well, whatever our definition of well is, then what are the steps we can do to get comfortable being okay with fear, coexisting with fear, right? And if I go back to my example, what I could have done differently is I could have said, okay, this is my decision. I also feel a lot of defensiveness coming about my decision because I'm afraid that if you question, then these are the things that may happen. But of course, I don't want to impose my own limitations and fears. I would like to welcome. And if I'm not able to discuss this safely with you, I would take some time to process whatever I'm going through. and then coming back and discussing this, right? That way I'm giving them the, permission to be also insecure about their decisions or their worries, whatever it is they're coming up for them. I'm sharing my humanness with them and also saying that, yeah, here are my fears and I don't know what to do with them yet, but it's not the reason for us to stop if we believe this and this things need to be happening, right? So you can see how things start changing when we stop making fear be such a huge blocking thing, but rather this can coexist, this can continue coming to the right. We are also okay not to know what to do with it at times, but we'll figure out essentially. And I can still be in charge and keep going, right?
Absolutely. You can still be in charge and keep going. I love that. Asel, I feel like you gave us so many call to actions throughout this chat that we had, but I would love to still give you a space to leave us with one, something that those listening to you, including myself, can start today to be a better people leader for those we have the honor to serve, and honestly, a better leader for ourselves too.
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that I'm always curious for my own life and with my clients is if we were not victims of our own emotions, what life would be available to us,
Uh,
right? And by emotion, I mean fear, frustration, disappointment, doubt, second guessing, whatever those emotions are. If we didn't fall victim to them every time they came along, but instead we kept going for what we want, how would our lives be different? And I'm always wanting to explore what that life looks like because I believe emotions are only there to signal things, but they're not there to stop us, right? But we interpret them wrongly by saying, oh my God, this emotion is here. It's a problem. We need to stop. And that's when we get into trouble. So that's why I would love to encourage everyone to look at whatever the dominant emotions they have, that they believe are stopping from living the life they want to. If they didn't to listen to those emotions, instead kept going for what they want, how their lives be different and find that out.
that's beautiful. Thank you, Asel. Asel, thank you so much. I learned so much from you today. I feel like I can probably cancel my therapy session tomorrow because you gave me so much to work on. So thank you for that. My last question is, how can people stay in touch with you and learn more about your coaching services?
So people can always check out my website, aselormonova.com. But if that's a bit challenging, you can always search for me on Google, and I think LinkedIn will come up first. You can stay connected through LinkedIn. And I would love to hear from your own journeys of how you're dealing with whatever transition that life throws at you and how you handle them.
That's amazing. Asel Ormonova, thank you for being part of Leadership Trail
Thank you
Mix.
so much, Miguel, for having me.
For those listening to us, if you have any comments or questions about this episode or any other topic, don't hesitate to reach out. Miguel at leadershiptrailmix.com. Thank you for listening. Take care and talk soon.